So Apple spoke about their lossless music, and one would think that it would be launched globally, right? Well, here in India, it wasn't the same thing because we kind of had a blue ball incident because a lot of users said they used it for about 2 hours, after which it just disappeared. Nobody had access to lossless music any longer. Hence the coloring. Apple says coming soon. Who knows how long they're going to take? Coming soon could mean any amount of time. But if you're preparing for Apple Music and their lossless format, it's worthwhile knowing exactly how to go about it. So I'll give you a few tips about that. So if you're just a music listener on a phone, don't expect there to be any significant difference if you start listening to lossless music, because there's something that an old friend of mine actually taught me about when I was moving towards hi-fi, and that was bottlenecking. Bottlenecking is nothing nasty, but it's literally bottlenecking where if you flip a bottle upside down, how quickly is the liquid going to come out of it? So if you're going to listen to a 192 kilohertz by 24-bit audio file, chances are you're not going to hear that true potential of the music's clarity if you're just listening off a phone, because I presume if you're listening off a phone, you're most likely going to have Bluetooth earphones, and Bluetooth being the bottleneck there is not going to let any of that data filter through to your earphones. This is exactly why Apple's AirPods, AirPods Pro and AirPods Max do not support their lossless formats. So if you're going to listen to this through your Macintosh, for example, chances are your internal circuitry is not as good as how an external DAC or amp would be. So even if you have a high-res music player, for example, my very old FIO X5, it's still going strong. I usually just plug this in via the micro USB point, and then you have to go into your Macintosh. You'll have to go to your utilities and your audio MIDI controller, after which you select your output source, and then you just select the highest bitrate possible through that specific DAC. After this step, you want a reasonably good amplifier, because I presume you're going to be listening to your music off of headphones. And if you have a very transparent set of headphones, it can be terrifically obvious when you compare a 192.24 audio file to an AAC file. It can almost be night and day. In a budget set of earphones that I reviewed, there was of course a marketing spiel about it having LDAC support. Now if you're just spending 5,000 bucks on a set of earphones, I'm sure it'll be able to handle the codec. But the question is, can the driver handle that kind of bitrate? This is going to be your bottleneck. Now high-res music is definitely not for everybody. I didn't get into it to begin with because I didn't really understand it. But luckily I had somebody who pointed me in the right direction. I invested in a good DAC, in a good headphone amp, and of course I had a nice set of very transparent earphones that could really tell me what has gone on in recordings and what is a good recording and what is a bad recording. Now if you don't really want to take that jump and get into high-res audio immediately, maybe go to a friend who has a similar setup and listen to his setup, and if you genuinely like it, then consider moving in that direction. But on the whole, AAC from Apple usually is fine. I think it's perfectly fine, especially when sitting in a car. Because whether you're listening to compressed audio or high-res audio, it really doesn't make a difference there, because you've got all sorts of noises coming in. You've got your wind noise, your road noise, people honking. So AAC works just fine there. But when I'm sitting at my desk, or if I'm sitting and listening to my speaker system out in my living room, high-res for me is the way to go. And the same goes for a speaker system. No doubt it will be playing your room to a certain extent, but if you have transparent sounding speakers, you can tell the difference very easily with high-res and compressed audio. So I really am looking forward to Apple's high-res audio coming soon to India. It'll be much easier to interact with the music, especially if it's high-res. High-res has been a real pain to get over these past years, because you have to look for good websites, make sure you get the correct bitrate, buy it and download it, and then of course transferring it onto a separate music player. This way it'll be so much easier just to be able to stream it from a laptop to a sound system, or even to your headphones. So how about you? Do you have access to Apple high-res music where you are? Let me know in the comments section below. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.